Welcome to the Sacred Emergence Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Wong, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. This is a place where you'll be guided to living your most aligned life so that your truest, most radiant self can emerge. We'll be jamming on topics ranging from spirituality, entrepreneurship, to wellness and lifestyle design, and everything in between that can support you to grow, evolve, and shine, all the while not taking ourselves too seriously. So if you're ready to step into your leadership, break through limiting beliefs, own all of who you are, and expand in abundance, grab yourself your faith cup of tea and let's dive in. Hey folks, before this episode officially begins, I wanted to come in here and give you a heads up that there's plenty of swearing in this episode. So if you have kids around, you may want to wear headphones. And I did include a few photos from the adventures in my Substack. So there are links in the show notes to my Substack, and I don't know if the photos will transfer over to show notes, but it will be on my Substack, so you can check out photos there. All right, enjoy the episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Sacred Emergence Podcast. This is Michelle Wong, and today is a solo episode. I have a story for you. So if you're on my email community, you might have seen me drop some hints that I have a story that I need to share with you all on a backpacking adventure that happened last year. And I think now is the time to tell it. We just passed the spring equinox here in Seattle, or in the US in the Northern Hemisphere. It's 2026, and this backpacking adventure, or how I like to subtitle it, is how the jungle chewed us up and spat us out. That happened last September during Labor Day weekend, so in 2025. And so as we're heading into spring and then soon summer again, I just wanted to get this story in the books, and hopefully y'all will enjoy it and also like learn something, you know. So let's dive in. Grab a cup of tea. If you're driving, hopefully you have a longish drive and you can just enjoy the story. And now that it's been how many months? I don't know, September, maybe like, it's been like 8 months since the adventure I experienced. Now I can look back and laugh at it, and hopefully you will too as you listen. So anyways, okay, so let's give a little bit of a preface. I wouldn't say I'm like a backpacker. My boyfriend is. He's a hiker, backpacker, and I've always been open to backpacking. Before him and I met, the most I've done is car camping, and then going on, some day hikes, maybe like a 5-mile hike, and like there and back within like 5 hours tops. And so when my boyfriend and I started dating, he's into hiking and backpacking, and happy to join him on hikes. And backpacking I was open to. It was just not something I've really done before. But let's see, this was last year. So in 2025, by the time we started backpacking, I got some gear. I bought a really awesome backpack from REI, and then I got some hiking shoes. I have like wide feet, and I'm really picky about my shoes, so I wanted one that, especially for backpacking or for hiking, had like just a little bit of padding, but was wide-toed. And like, for me, I prefer, if I could, I wouldn't want to wear, like, I just don't want to wear shoes. I didn't want to wear socks, right? Like, I'm a flip-flops, sandals type of person, but you can't do that when you're hiking. So anyways, I got the gear that I needed, and then my boyfriend supplemented because he had extra stuff like a sleeping pad, and he carried a lot of the heavier things, and I got myself hiking poles, right? And anyways, so like I got the gear. I got the gears, the basic gear that I needed. And this adventure that we were going to go on was my second backpacking trip. And how this 30-mile backpacking trip, 30-mile route was sold to me is it's relatively easy. The trail is pretty much alongside of the river called the Bogachiel. The Bogachiel Trail is basically it's in the Olympic Peninsula, the Bogachiel. And he said he read reviews on it and he did the research, right? He said it was great reviews. It's pretty straightforward. The hardest part might be going up the top of this hill, but we'll hit that on the first day, maybe the first main day. And then after that, it's like a steady downhill trek. And then we'll basically be hiking along the river. And, it's in the Olympics, so it's beautiful. For those of you who aren't aware, Washington State has a temperate rainforest, so it's like mossy and like it's wet pretty much. But usually in the summertime, it's relatively dry, and it's just beautiful because it's, in the rainforest, and very mossy, right, and beautiful. So I was like, okay, and the plan was to do 3 nights, right, out in the jungle. I'm gonna say jungle because it really felt like it was a jungle. And it was like for Labor Day, right? So like I think I had Friday off for Labor Day. Well, there was Monday off, and I think I took an extra Friday off, and I believe I took a Tuesday off. So I had a 5-day weekend. And so basically I was dedicating my entire 5-day long weekend for this backpacking trip. And then, and I was like, okay, let's do it. But like heading up to that trip, the weather was a little bit janky. Like it was like, we looked ahead and it looked like it was going to possibly rain and maybe not. And so my boyfriend looked at alternate possibilities. Like if we don't do the Bogachiel, maybe there's like a slightly easier one, a shorter, maybe it'll be like a 2-night camping trip or whatever. And there was like other alternatives. And like for myself, after only backpacking once, and then my first backpacking trip was back in May last year, I think it was May. Maybe it was June. It was end of June, I believe. Actually, don't remember. But it was only a 1-night backpacking trip. So it was like not too bad. So this is like, 3 nights. So when it was like the weather was a little iffy and he said we might not be able to do this, I was like, okay. Like I was, cool going along with it. But like the idea of only doing maybe like a shorter backpacking trip also felt really good for me because I was like, it's a long weekend and I would love a few days to relax, but he was very excited, and he's been wanting to do the Bogachiel, the 30-miler, for a long time. And why didn't he do this one by himself? Well, this 30-mile trail is not a loop, right? And so the starting point and the end point are not the same. So in order to do it, you have to take 2 cars. You got to go with 2 people, right? Like somebody has to drive and then park the car at, the starting point, and then drive together to the next point and drop off the car there. Like, you know what I mean? Like you had to coordinate that. And the drive from Seattle to the start of the trail was like the Bogachiel was about 3.5 to 4 hours each way. And anyways, so the weather was a little iffy. And then he was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just like do it, because it was supposed to be like cloudy or no rain at the start of the trip. And let's just bring our rain gear. My swanky backpack has a rain cover, so I was like, okay, let's just do it. You never know, right? Like let's just be prepared, and then hopefully if it rains just a little bit, and then we keep going, right? And it's also like the peninsula, the Olympics is a lot of it has trees covering, so if it's a little rain, maybe it won't hit us,
whatever I was rationalizing. Okay. So to make us drive less, we decided to take the ferry over, and that would shave off like I think 30 minutes of driving, which for me I was really happy about. And because I was taking my car, he was taking his car, and then we were off, So, oh, I should also say part of the deal to sweeten the deal was there's the Soul Dug hot springs, and I was like, how about this, like, let's end our trip by the hot springs, and then we can do a really nice soak, and that'll be worth it after backpacking for 3 nights. And then from there we can head back, right? Because the goal was to finish the trip by I think noon, and then that would give us maybe like a 1 hour or so to soak and then to head back. And I thought that was going to be great. Anyways, so we actually, let me think. So we parked our car by Soul Dug Hot Springs, and then we drove to the starting point, which is 30 miles away. I don't know how many miles it was, but it was maybe like another 30, 45-minute drive. And then we started. So we started around, I don't know what time, maybe it was like 3 or 4. And then we had to hike to like one of the spots. And by the time we got to our first night, it was like pretty dark already. And my boyfriend didn't tell me then, but he said he was worried that we wouldn't get to our spot in time. But I mean, there was still daylight, but I think if we took any longer, it would have been pitch black. So we kind of made there in, I don't know, like we made there in time. And what was a delay was traffic. Traffic was a delay of like dropping from one car to the other. We just hit some traffic along the way, and it just slowed us down. It wasn't because I was a slow hiker, okay? I'm apparently pretty decent. Anyways, so that was fine the first night. And then the second day we started climbing up. And I will say this, I really like going uphill because it is not hard on my knee. And sometimes I just have to take a little break as you're going uphill. I think my backpack, I don't know how heavy it was, maybe between 30 to 40 pounds. I have no idea. It might have been 30 pounds or 35 pounds or maybe 20, 25, but it was heavy. I mean, it's like, there's a photo. If you see a photo of me in my backpack, the backpack looks like it's bigger than me. Okay. And so here we go, up. And so far, so good. Just trekking along. And there's this point where we're climbing up this ridge, and it's nice. Like we're in the forest. There's not that much greenery. There's just like, I don't know. It just, I remember like the color was more brown. Like the trail was brown. There was trees, but the trees were not as, maybe, I don't know if that's true. I don't remember. But maybe they were evergreen trees, but they were long. So they were mostly like the trunk was brown. And I feel like because we were along this ridge, it wasn't like we were like in the, I don't know, it didn't feel I was like in the jungle. I just felt like I could have been anywhere hiking, you know? And then over time, we started climbing downhill. And like I said, like climbing downhill with a heavy backpack can be a little bit tricky, especially on the knees. And then we kept going. And then like, it felt pretty, like there was not a lot of people on the trail. But then like there was a group of 6 folks, and I think they were in their 20s or like, I don't know, they were 19, 20. They were pretty young. They were, spry and full of energy, and we kind of kept passing each other. Like they would pass us, we would pass them, and then it started, as we started going down, it was starting to get more into the jungle. And at one point I was like, I am feeling really weird tingly sensation on my arms. And I was walking, I was leading because I was setting the pace. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if it's because my backpack is heavy and is pinching a nerve, but my arm is tingling. It is really weird. And like, my boyfriend's like, I don't know, maybe, maybe, maybe it's pinching a nerve. I'm like, I don't know. It just feels really weird. And I was like, maybe I'm walking into spider webs, but I'm not seeing any spider webs. And like, I don't know what time it was, but like we're deep into the jungle now, right? Like it's just canopy overhead. And anyways, so I was like, I don't know, but this is suddenly happening a lot. I was not getting that before. And now I'm feeling like sensation tingly on both arms. And finally he's like, you want me to go ahead? I was like, yeah, you go ahead and you see if there's any tingle sensation that you're feeling. And he's like, okay. So he goes ahead and like within like a minute, he's like, yeah, I feel the tingly sensation. And he's like, they're definitely spider webs. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been clearing spider webs this whole time. And it's fine. Like I didn't run into or walk into a spider web or a spider didn't like crawl on me. But it was just like so weird. And like we were ahead of the group of 6, right? So I was like, we're doing them a favor. We're clearing the spider webs for them. And then like we kept going. And at some point, like we took a break and then the group of 6 passed us. So like overall, things were going pretty good so far, despite, I felt really justified actually that they were spider webs. Cause like, I was like, I'm not making this up. I'm really not making this up. And then the fact that my boyfriend also experienced it made me feel better. Like, okay, I'm not going crazy. Okay. So I don't even know where we were that day, but things started to turn. Okay. Things started to turn because we got to an area and I don't know how many miles it was, but it got really, really brushy. And not only was it brushy, but the vegetation was all wet. It was wet. And I could not see the ground beneath us because it was covered with all this vegetation. And they were high, like it was like covering the path. And this went on for miles and miles and miles. And because I couldn't see the path, I had to like use my hiking sticks and basically like part the vegetation so I can continue to walk. And after like many, many miles of doing that, it's exhausting. And because the leaves are wet, my pants were getting wet. And then because it's wet, the ground was muddy. And not only was it muddy, there were lots of rocks on the ground. And it's not like it's nicely paved. It's random. And the rocks are different shapes and sizes. So my ankle started to twist. I had hiking shoes. I didn't have hiking boots. I do not love the hiking shoes that I wore. I think they're fine for a day hike, but I shouldn't have bought them. And I cannot return them. I did not get these at REI. REI, the one good thing about them is that you have a 1-year return policy. Even if you worn it, you can return it. And these I did not get there. And anyways, I can share what shoes I got. I don't remember the I don't know, the name of it. It's Topo Athletics. I don't remember what kind it was, like the name of the shoe that I got, but I did not love it. And they were not waterproof. I was told that the good thing about non-waterproof shoes is that if it gets wet, it's fast to dry, right? But if you have waterproof shoes, if it gets wet, it's really hard to dry, right? Because the whole point of a waterproof shoe is to not have water in, but once it gets in, it takes a long time to dry. So I got ones that weren't waterproof, thinking that it's fast to dry. Anyways, I was wet. Like my shoe was wet, my sock was wet, my I don't know, my pants all the way halfway up my knee was wet, and then the knee itself, and like I was starting to like twist my ankle a little bit. I wasn't spraining it; it was just really uncomfortable. And when that started happening, my knee started to get compromised. So it started to become really hard, and we had a lot of miles to go. There were we had a plan of like we had to make it to this camp by day 1. Actually, day 1 was like when we first started, right? So day 2 is like we already slept. Day 2 we had to make it to camp at a certain point before it went dark, right? And then we had a day 3. And then on day 4, we're still hiking back to the car, all right? Okay, so it was already bad. Day 2, it was already bad. And then we could not find the camping site. Like, we couldn't find the campgrounds. And we kept going. And there was this one point, because my boyfriend's a navigator. He has all of the equipment. And I was miserable, in pain. And, I got my heavy backpack. And it was pouring. I think at one time, I think it was starting to rain at one point. And could not see the ground. Tired. And at one point he asked me, "Do you see the campground?" And I was like, "I see what you see." Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just miserable right now. And we still have to do like another like 2 nights of this. So I had no idea what to expect after that, right? Okay, so he's like, "It should be here." I was like, "I don't know. I don't see anything. I just see trees." So anyways, like maybe like another 15, 20, 30 minutes later, maybe it was another 20. He's like, "Oh my God, I see it." And I was like, "Halle fucking Luya." I'm just so miserable. And nobody was there. So we kind of just took over. I was sweating. I was wet. I took off my backpack. I was just wearing a tank top at that time. And then like literally after we plunked our stuff down, maybe like 10 minutes later, the group of 6 behind us joined us. And looking back, I feel a little bad because there were like 6 of them and we were so tired. We did not care. We took all the space, and they had to like find little holes elsewhere, not holes, but little like sections to stay or camp. They didn't complain. I think we were so tired, my boyfriend and I, that we were just like, whatever. Okay, so he went and he had to get water because we had to like, it was pretty dark by then, and we had to like make dinner quick so we could eat it and then set up our tent, all the things, and then sleep. So that all of that did happen, but when I was in my tent, my boyfriend looked at me and he's like, "You got a lot of mosquito bites." And I was like, "What?" I'm so itchy. And like that camping spot had a lot of mosquitoes, and I stopped counting after 50, like literally. It was awful. And my legs were in pain. I had to sleep with my legs on my backpack just to kind of elevate them a little bit. And that was, I guess, the second night. That was the second night. And it was really hard. Next morning, I forget what time we got up, but the group of 6 that was ahead of us, I think they already got up and left. They wanted to get a head start. And I joked to my boyfriend, I was like, they want to beat us to the next campsite because we totally took all their space. Anyways, we had a goal of making, I forget what mile mark, but there was supposed to be a good, like one that's further along, for like, day 3. So we're hiking and we meet some people that were going in the opposite direction. And they're like pretty chummy, optimistic. And I asked them, "How muddy is it?" And they're like, "It's not too bad." And I'm like, my shoes are just dirty. Like it's so muddy. Oh, and the shoes that were supposed to be quick dry were wet. Like my hiking shoes were wet. And I brought a pair of socks for every day. So I put on, a dry pair of socks. Within 30 minutes of a hike on day 3, it was already wet. And day 3 was not any better than day 2. In fact, it was worse. It was like even muddier. There were a lot of fallen tree trunks that like I had to keep climbing over, climbing under. And it was just exhausting with a heavy backpack and with like my ankle that was kind of already like not doing well. And then with a sore knee. Like the one blessing that I was just grateful for was that my knee pain was on my left leg and not on my right. For those of you who know, I had a really awful knee injury back in 2019, and that was on my right knee. And the knee pain that I was experiencing was on my left. So anyways, I was grateful that it was on my right. Anyways, so we're like, going along, and then I don't know what happened, but there's also lots of rivers. I should say there's also lots of rivers and slippery rocks on these rivers. And some of these rocks are not evenly, like they're not well spaced, so that I'm just like, in order to jump through. So like, actually this was on the second night. There was one river that it was impossible to cross without like stepping your shoes into the river or stream or whatever you want to call it. And so my boyfriend had to like throw rocks and create a path. So kudos to him for doing that. Anyways, okay. I'm trying to remember where we are in the day. I think I'm trying to like, when did this happen? I think this was day 3. We're going along and I'm starting to get really frustrated. I'm trying to think. Let me think for a second. At what point, I think it was, I'm just trying to think. We had one more night. So okay. This is day 3, and then there's an evening to day 3, right? That we had to camp another night. So day 3, I felt, okay, day 2 was already really bad. Day 3 was equally bad, if not worse. The only good thing is that we're getting closer, we're getting closer along the trail. And it's not, anyway. So my boyfriend, I don't know what happened, but he ends up going ahead of me. I think because I had him go ahead to like, I don't know, look at if it gets any better. And he's fast and he's got the right boots. He's got all the equipment. He's mountain man. And at one point, I'm like, where the fuck is he? I don't see him anymore. And I'm like miserable. And I'm going a mile an hour. Like, I'm going so slow, right? And the way that we calculated this 30-miler was like, I think like maybe, I forget, like maybe every, I don't know, like 2 miles an hour, or maybe it is a mile an hour. But I think what was happening, I was like, with my injury, I was going so slow. I was going like a mile every 2 hours. Like it was just slow. And I think my boyfriend was a little frustrated that we couldn't go faster, but he also understood that I was injured. But I was getting pissed that he was going ahead and I couldn't even see him. And I don't even remember where we were in this trail, but I'm pretty sure it was day 3. Like I've been doing a lot of nervous system work with Kimberly and Johnson, and like integrating the work and just like following animal instincts, right? And I was like, the frustration, the anger, just the tiredness, the lack of sleep, like it was all building up. And finally, a part of me, I was thinking to myself, I just want to scream. Like, I just want to yell at the top of my lungs because I am feeling so much like, ugh, right now. And then I just let it out. I just stopped and I just yelled at like the top of my lungs in the jungle. And I was like, ah, like I just felt it from the pit of my belly. And it wasn't just like, ah, right? Like if you all have done breath work with me, we've done some yelling. This was like, I don't know how long I yelled for. It felt like 15, 20 seconds. It probably was like 10, 15 seconds, but it was like long and it felt so good to let it out. And then like my boyfriend heard that, obviously. So he turns around, he sees me, And he's like, babe, let me take your backpack. And I was like, huh? He's like, let me take your backpack. And I was like, no, it's heavy and yours is heavy. Like he carried all of the heavy stuff. Like mine was heavy, but compared to his, mine was like light, right? Like he carried everything. He was like, please, please let me take your backpack. And he was like very sweet about it. And I caved in. So he carried both my backpack, his backpack, and we kept going. And it was a little bit easier crossing streams without a backpack. And there were times in crossing streams that my foot just slipped and stepped into the stream, and I was like, damn it, everything is damp, but it felt more dry, but now it's wet again. So that happened. And then this is still day 3. We were running low on toilet paper. And that was my bad because I use the toilet paper. Guys don't really need toilet paper unless they're doing number 2. But I was low on toilet. We were running low. So I believe, we were running low. And was it day 3? Everything's all muddled. It doesn't really matter. Day 1, day 2, day 3, you're just getting the juice. I got my period on day 3. I remember that because I was like, couldn't it have come tomorrow? We don't have to camp another night? Of course not. I ran running low on toilet paper. And at one point, my boyfriend was going through his first aid kit to pull out gauze for me. He's like, okay, you can use the gauze. Here's a large, hand size Band-Aid, right? It's cloth. Use that. He's like, you can take all of what I have. I'm just going to hold the poop. My boyfriend was holding it in. He's like, I'm just not going to go. Just you take it. And anyways, I was like, I could have planned the toilet paper better. And just as a tip for those who don't know, there's these things you can buy called Kula cloth, and they're pea cloths. When I first saw them at REI, I was like, is that what I think it is? And then I told my boyfriend about it. He's like, I know people who swear by those, but I didn't get one. I don't think I knew about them, or maybe I did. I don't know. But I did not have one, and I really wish I had one at that time. And I will also say that on this backpacking trip, I had no more shame of pooping in the forest and digging a hole and covering up the hole. That was no big deal. And you gotta put a hole, toilet paper, everything. I was just I'm a clean freak. I'm a neat freak. I wash my hands for everything. At one point, I was like, did I just go to the bathroom and then just do a little bit of a hand sanitizer and eating this dried mango? I'm like, yeah, that's happening. Yep, this is happening. Yeah. And then socks, all of by the time, I had no dry socks because it was so uncomfortable to hike in wet socks. At one point, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to put on my dry socks, and hopefully that will be dry for most of it. Or maybe the socks that I wore on the first day is now dry, then I can wear that on the last day. I was just trying to make it work. I had no dry socks. Shoes were still wet. Pants were wet. The mosquito count was climbing. They were getting my belly, and I don't even know how that happened. And then I got my period, and my knees hurt, my ankles hurt. I was in pain, and it was downhill, and downhill is hard on the knees. So I was grateful for any uphill, because uphill I was going faster than I was downhill. Oh my gosh. And then we made it to the campsite on day 3, the evening of day 3. We made it there. We were the only ones there. We ended up not making it to the further one because it was farther away and we were going really slow. And And this campsite, I remember, is called Flapjack. And actually, we bumped into another bunch of hikers that were going the other way. And they said Flapjack was really good. And the other one that we considered, they said, don't do that one. That one's gross. It's just not well maintained. And so Flapjack was actually really nice. It felt good to be there. Although there were lots of like big ass bees. They were huge. And they were just kind of like all over our tent. So I was like in the tent anyway, because I didn't want to get bit by mosquitoes. My boyfriend had this like mosquito net that you can put around your head. And there's like a photo of me like by the river with like this mosquito net. And I just look like, I don't know, I look like I'm from the country, like washing vegetables by the river. Anyways, whatever. It saved my face. I could literally hear mosquitoes buzzing around me when I had the net on. And then we had like day 4 was the last day. And I was like, okay, this is it. I think we got up early to try to make it back on time, like, without it being too late. And there was a camper that ended up joining us on the Flapjack campgrounds the 3rd night. And he said, it's not too bad. Like, it's a little bit dicey getting here, but it does get a little bit better. So I felt like, oh, thank God, maybe the worst is over. And it was still hard on day 4, the last day. But we started seeing more people, and the trails got wider, and it started to get really beautiful. And we had like 5 more miles left before we reached our car. And my boyfriend's like, I think I understand all the good reviews now. It's literally the first 5 miles of the Bogachiel. Nobody bothered to do the full 30 miles because like the middle of the Bogachiel was not well maintained. Like you can't even see the trail really, and there were a huge Devil's Club, which are really spiky plants, which I have actually, now that I'm studying herbal apprenticeship, I've come to really appreciate Devil's Club, right? But they're so spiky. They look so intimidating, and there were a lot of them. And but anyways, so the trail got a lot nicer, and that was the thing. Like people raved about the Bogachiel because they only did the first 5 miles, and then they turned around. Like they did not go the whole one end to the other, because I don't think they would have given it 5 stars. Yeah. And then finally, like we had to like go uphill a little bit, and then like literally it spat us out. The jungle spat us out, and we were there in the parking lot. And I like yelled with so much joy. I think I swore too. I was like, oh my fucking God, like we did it. And there was an outhouse, and I was so happy to see an outhouse that had toilet paper. So like I spent time in there just getting toilet paper. And I will say, like I had my period, and I was like, when I was packing for the trip, my period came early, and it wasn't supposed to come until like after the trip, but it came early. And I had in my mind to pack more like whatever, like pads and whatnot, but I kind of forgot. But I had like my my belts on me, like sometimes I don't carry a purse. I have a little like fanny pack basically. And I had like 2 pads in there. So those 2 pads were like, I was like stretching it the whole time. So anyways, I was able to like replace the pad, and then like get in the car after like peeling off layers and like just feeling like shredded and chewed up and beaten up. And then we had to get into my car, which my boyfriend drove my car back to his car, which I forget, it was another 30 minutes. And I think by then it was like 3:34. And then we drove back to the Soul Duck Hot Springs Resort. And I was like, well, do we still want to do the hot spring soak? And I was like, you know, I have my period. We're filthy. I just want to go home. Like, excuse me. I just wanted to go home. So I just remember when we got out of the car, because we had to use the restroom again, like we were so, like our bodies were so tight and so sore. Like it was in pain just to walk up the stairs. And like people are coming out of the resort all fresh and clean. And I was like, I hope we don't smell, because we definitely look like we got like beaten up and like was not part of civilization for the past 3 days. You know what I mean? And like everything was just filthy. Like, yeah. And then we had to take our 2 cars, and we were hungry. So we ended up finding this really great restaurant, actually. And it was like they had like bone broth soup with like fresh salmon and like rice noodles. And like it was just like such good food. And we had to probably wait like 30 minutes, but it was worth the wait. And like just that was lovely. And then we drove back to the ferry, and then went home. I showered, washed my hair, crawled into bed, and like was so grateful for a warm bed, a toilet that flushed, like hot running water, and just like when we're out in the freaking jungle, it's like we take all of the conveniences, maybe take it for like we've taken for granted. And then I was just really happy to be in bed. And I think I had the day off the next day. So I was just like resting, sleeping in and resting. Yeah, that is the story of the Bogachiel, how the jungles chewed us up and spat us out. Lessons, bring toilet paper, get a cooler cloth, get hiking boots. I'm still in a search for a good one that's wide foot, that is slightly like more padded. And then my boyfriend, love him, he got me like wool socks, darn tough socks. They have a forever guarantee. And because I didn't have wool socks, I was wearing like this cotton blend, which makes it even worse, right? Because it makes it cold and it doesn't dry. And so he bought me 3 pairs for Christmas. And actually, darn tough, for those of you that have wide feet, they actually make wide-toed socks. I can't really wear toed socks because it kind of like it hurts. It digs into the webbing of my feet. But darn tough, they make a brand called, they have like a subsidiary brand called Wide Open Socks. And they're like socks. They're not toe socks, they're just socks, but they're for wide feet. So, yeah, my boyfriend got me those. And I'm really excited to have those. And then like bring pads, bring toilet paper, get cooler cloth. And yeah, because the hiking boots would have made a big difference because it would have like helped support my ankle. My ankle was really like stepping on uneven terrain that was slippery and muddy. My ankles were compromised. And I was really worried that my knees were going to be in pain of like I had to go see a PT or an acupuncturist or whatever, but it just needed rest and it was fine. Actually, it was fine like the next day. And then what else? And I will say that throughout the whole time, like even though I was like really frustrated with my boyfriend, he did carry my backpack twice. After he carried the first time after I did my like deep belly primal yell, he did take my backpack that time. And then there was another time that he took it again. I think the next day he took it, or he took it again before we reached our campsite the last night. And that was really helpful. And my boyfriend said, like, in the history of his backpacking journeys, this was the second worst that he's been on. And that was my second backpacking trip. So that felt good. And then he said, like, did this experience scare you off forever? And I was like, I'm just done for the season. I don't want to think about hiking or backpacking. Like, I don't even want to, like, I have no bandwidth for that right now. Like, I'm done for the season. He's like, okay, it's good that it's like for the season. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm still like open to doing more, but I just like not like this, like not something so crazy like this. We did get permits to the enchantments, which is not in the Olympics, but they're really hard to get, and it's a very, very hard climb. I think Asgard, for those of you who have done the enchantments, I don't really know where it is in Washington, but it might be by the Cascades, but it is a popular one. It's like one of the most beautiful hikes you can do in Washington State. And so we have that, like, it's on the list that we'll probably do it. I mean, it's my choice. If I don't want to do it, I don't have to do it, but I will probably do it. And that's not until August. So I haven't, I haven't ex-nayed backpacking. And you know what? Like, even though it was really hard, the Bogachiel, and it was not what we were expecting. And I think, like, a lot of times if couples are put under that amount of stress, like, it's easy to get into fights and blame each other and just like make it even worse. And that wasn't the case for us. Like, we were very kind to each other. There was no blaming. It was just like, trying to survive it all together. So that was one good thing that came out of that. Like, we survived something really hard, and we were better for it in terms of our relationship. We didn't chew each other's head off or kill each other. I did do my primal yell, but that was like everything like coming to its head, and I needed to let it out. And it wasn't like, it wasn't like directed at him. It was just everything, and I let it out in the wild. So that was a very primal feel. It felt so good to do. And he heard me, and he was able to take my backpack, and I wasn't even expecting that, and all the things. So I am very grateful about that. So that's good. Anyway, so I lived to tell the tale. We lived to tell the tale, because now it's like we have memories to look back and kind of joke about it. And I believe like sometime in not August last year, October last year, I did go on another trip, like a day hike with him. I think we went on 2 day hikes since the Bogachiel. So I just didn't go another backpacking trip. But anyways, a new season is upon us. And I, have dry gear. Have plenty of dry wool socks. Bring mosquito spray. Spray it on before you think you need it. And water was not an issue. I'm just trying to think what else. Yeah, I think those are the lessons. And the other lesson is, like, don't be afraid to go primal. Like, that was very cathartic. I needed that. I think if I didn't do the yell, I probably would have been even more miserable on the trip. And like, there's something to be said about leaning into that instinct of like, just let it out. That felt very cathartic and healing. When you're in the wild, you may as well lean into it. So anyways, that is the story. I will say that while I was hiking, and like, I think there's a tendency to romanticize nature. Like right now I am studying my herbal apprenticeship and like learning about medicinal herbs and all the things. And it's like, oh, it feels good and nature's our friend. And like, nature's wild. It will chew you up and spit you out, And so I had that moment of like, oh my gosh, like at this moment in time, like I'm not glorifying nature. Like all the plants are hitting my legs right now and it's making my pants wet. You know, like the brush was really high. It was like higher than me, you know, and like taller than me, higher than me, whatever. And like I was miserable. Like it was just not, I was like not feeling kumbaya about being in so much greenery. I really missed civilization at that point. And so there is something to be said about respecting nature and understanding like you got to be prepared, right? So there's definitely, it's easy to romanticize, right? Especially when the trails are all done for you and everything is like beautiful and easy. But if you're not prepared, obviously shit can happen and people can die. And so I'm just grateful that we made it out okay. So that is, I guess, the lesson for this episode, right? Respect nature. Yeah, otherwise she'll kick you in the ass. All right, that's all I have for you. I hope that was enjoyable. And I will talk to you next time. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Sacred Emergence podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and thank you in advance for sharing this with others who can benefit. Until next time.